Beautiful Sóller, the venue for stage 3 of the Mallorca Challenge 2019. Windy and sometimes rainy conditions in the port. Market day in the main town, so the start moved to the port this year. Well, in the summertime, plenty of cyclists get on the boats and go to the bottom of Ciclista to take on one of the island's most famous climbs. It's the boat trip from the port to Torrent de Pares. But on this occasion, much cloudier conditions, a very windy day in the Port de Sóller. The riders would just about get past the tram in the end. And once they went to sign on, they'd be taking on the hills of the Tramuntana mountains. Well, they'll be hoping for a quieter day after a landslide interrupted proceedings the day previous. Dan Martin's been up and there and racing pretty well for the first couple of days. Cofidis already picked up a victory, and the win 24 hours previous went to Emmanuel Buchmann of Bora Hansgrohe. So Dan Martin riding for UAE Emirates. Spanish track team also in attendance. This race won for the past 2 seasons by Tim Wellens. Former winners of the Trofeo Sóller Deia also include the likes of Fabian Cancellara and Alejandro Valverde, with Michał Kwiatkowski winning in 2014. Valverde back to try and win for a third team, and very, very happy to be in Mallorca in his rainbow jersey. Well, he's been asked if the route actually suits him or not. Well, he knows he's won it a couple of times. But he knows, yes, the route does suit him. And it depends if there'll be crashes or not. We've seen them all week. Alejandro Valverde hoping to get past those problems. Albert Torres, the best local rider at the moment, the man in the white on the right-hand side. And as the tape was cut by the local mare, Alejandro Valverde, the world champion, was on hand to oversee proceedings. And then hailstone struck as the start of the race was called. Conditions changing very, very quickly at the start in the Port de Sóller. This is what they take on. They go straight up the Coll de Sóller, back inland towards Col d'Enclaret, back up Coll d'Honor through Bunyola, Puigmayor from the opposite side to the one they'd taken on previously. And coming out of town, their early attacks from Caja Rural. Well, this on the main road that connects the town of Sóller to the capital Palma through the tunnel. The riders would go above the tunnel and onto the tens of hairpins of the Coll de Sóller. Not the most difficult climb this, the grade it's not ridiculous, but it goes on for about 7 kilometers and an uphill start straight from the port. Nicola Ede on the attack once again with Brian Nolu, and trying to join the early attackers Álvaro Quadros, Giulio Ciccone, Matteo Fabro and Dries Mas, the local rider from Mallorca. Riders already being distanced at the bottom of Coll de Sóller. It's Matteo Fabro at the back there for Katusha Alpecin, well into the final kilometre of this climb at this point. And it'd be a technical descent going over Coll de Sóller, one of the most beautiful viewpoints on the island of Mallorca, looking east from this point here and looking towards the capital Palma. Visibility on this particular day, not at its best. Giulio Ciccone first over to take the King of the Mountains points. Oh, plenty of hairpins here, a couple off camber as well. Slippy roads at this time of the year on the island, so the riders would have to be very, very careful on the descent. And there would be the first fall of the day. Dries Mas on the ground, even the local riders not able to escape the problems. But he'd be straight up on his bike and down the hill again. Trek Segafredo have been having an active week. And riders all over the road after the descent. Thomas Schoonge trying to get there to the front of the race. Alejandro Valverde would be in the peloton as they headed to the first intermediate sprint at Ciclista. And numbers taken down, the first riders across, as the first bit of the breakaway was brought in. So the early escape brought back, and Brian van Kooten would be the winner of the intermediate sprint. Sander Armé would try to get away as the riders headed up to Esporles. Vaidemossa would come first out. One of the shorter climbs, harder at the bottom part. This is where it just eases out, and a chance for Cajarural to go on the attack as well. Álvaro Quadros, who had been out initially, trying to get out for a second time. Vaidemossa on a clear day, one of the most stunning towns on the island. Famous pianist Frédéric Chopin, resident for many a year. So Armé and Quadros out there as they went on to take the Col d'Encladet from the other side, the opposite side of the one they'd taken it on the day previous. This is the easier side, and the descent a little bit more technical from here. ...140 kilometres in total for the third of the four trophies, with the sprinters this year forced to wait until day 4 for their opportunity in Palma. Quadros, Armé and Ciccone with the order of passage on the second King of the Mountains climb of the day. The descent and through the town of Esporles. A market day brought everybody out to watch the cycling. So Long falls flat at this point as they headed towards the next climb. That would come in Bunyola, the Coll d'Onor. And back along the road where they just had the intermediate sprint, right here at Ciclista. Across the old train track, over 100 years old, the train that connects Sóller and Palma, and they go through Bunyola and head up another one of the island's famous climbs. Narrow road this, steep, 10% in places, and lots of changes of gradient to the top of the Coll d'Onor. And once again, it'd be difficult for anybody to get away. Earlier 2 escapees brought back, Quadros and Armé. And the differences were being made at the back as they went over the Coll d'Onor. Again, it'd be Quadros to go and pick up more King of the Mountains points, with Armé in second, Jesper de Bust in third place. Lotto Soudal with a clear plan. Lotto Soudal still looking for their first victory of the season as the peloton pulled out of the town of Orient. Peloton thinning out in the bad weather as well. Not too many left when they got to lunchtime. Giulio Ciccone had been very active throughout the day. And Movistar also had a plan to make it difficult to see if Alejandro Valverde could take the win. With the town of Selva out the way, the riders would head towards the base of the next climb. Just the flattest section of the race today. Mario Gonzalez there in the yellow jersey, riding for Euskadi Murias. The road towards Puyensa would be next. Euskadi Murias up there and getting in the breakaway. The peloton behind, knowing there was plenty of climbing still to come. 3 minutes and 40 for the two riders who got away. But then they get into the valley and the false flat start to the climb of Safamenia. This is a climb very well known to local tourists. And at the top of the Col de Safamenia, it'll be the Basque riders who will be on top. Mario Gonzalez ahead for Euskadi Murias. Second place going to Sjoerd van Ginneken. The weather changing again, and hailstone on the top as Daniel Benati did his best for Alejandro Valverde and company. On day 3 of 4, they'd have to climb Puigmayor from the shorter side, but not necessarily much easier. Some big ramps coming up past that turn, past Gorge Blau, lake that we saw 24 hours ago on day 2. Through the first tunnel next to Gorge Blau, that didn't look very blue on this third day. And more climbing to do from here, another 5 or so kilometers to the top. This is the view on a nice day from the highest point in the island. And as they climbed up to the second tunnel, Emmanuel Buchmann was giving it another try. Winner on day 2 and attacking from the bunch behind. Well, Buchmann picking up just his second career victory the day before. Ben Hermans would follow, and Tim Wellens would be there as well. Always moves to watch, but a dangerous descent in the wet would follow this passage through the tunnel. After the descent, they'd have the final climb of the day. Coidembleda, short climb out of the town of Soya, which we'd return to. Fabio Aru chasing on at the back of the group. But only once Buchmann and company was safely down. Well, the last serious bit of climbing before the finish would come after Soyer. Across the tram tracks and a right turn here. And on the way up the Coidembleda, Tim Wellens would once again turn on the style, looking to make it a hat-trick of victories. 3 in 3 years going into the town of Deia. And once over the top, it would be the windy coast road, where he'd have to get the better of Emmanuel Buchmann. And false flat, a little bit of a descent here. Valverde and company were still making their way up the Coidembleda, and it looked as though the victory would come from the front. Wellens, who'd been second the day previous, could he get the better of Buchmann this time? And Wellens started to go away. False flat descent turned to false flat uphill. Valverde in the chase behind. Having a rider from Fundación Euskadi in front of him. But by the time that Wellens got to Deia, he knew the race was his. Buchmann defeated, a look around, and time to celebrate. In mountains, he must feel he owns right now. Wellens victorious for a 3rd year in succession in the town of Deia. Victory, number 24 of his career, and the Belgian picking up the first Lotto Soudal success of 2019. Bookman to finish in second place. A very good week for him and Bora Hansgrohe so far. What a start of the season to the man who just signed a new contract. Valverde third last year in similar poor weather. A third this year again in the rain. Twice a winner of this very trophy. So victory for Tim Wellens and Lotto Soudal. He lifts the Trofeo Serra de Tramuntana, Deia. All right, at the start of the broadcast, we mentioned that the boats took the bikes to the bottom of Ciclista. If you didn't fancy riding your bike, that beach awaits you at the Torrent de Paris. Well, the podium on the day, Wellens, Bookman and Valverde. Valverde taking the most combative rider of the day on it in front of the Deia town building. Well, with the almond flowers in bloom, white all over the island of Mallorca at the moment, and the white jersey with the rainbow stripes on, not quite at the top of the podium on the day. Movistar team, the team of the day. But with Caja Rural, their neighbours from down the road, also picking up plenty of plaudits. Quadros, Bookman and Giulio Ciccone, the order of the day as far as the King of the Mountains was concerned. Tim Wellens in charge of the combined classification. Still with one day to go. Sander Armey and Emmanuel Bookman on the day, second and third. Well, another passage through the town of Duke earlier in the day. Marc Boadis going through there as the best local Mallorquin rider. Well, from being out at the front, Tim Wellens picked up the prize for his teammate Brian van Gouten, and it was a Lotto 1-2-3 in the intermediate sprints. The special sprints also picked up by Lotto Soudal riders. Wellens again did the honours. So another beautiful day in the Tramuntana Mountains in terms of action. The weather didn't play ball, but once again the winner on a difficult day, uphill and down dale, was Tim Wellens of Lotto Soudal.